I wanted to prepare a talk. I didn't really know what to talk about. I wanted to prepare a talk about my experiences and some thoughts that I had while I am still in UC Berkeley. In California, I mean in general, taking into account that I come from Europe, so I can make kind of like a comparison between the two systems. But this is just my personal opinion, okay? Just don't take it too seriously anyways. All right, so this is not. So just a little background, just for you to know where I come from. I did my PhD thesis some years ago. It was a very long thesis about microinvertebrate distribution in mountain lakes in the Pyrenees. The Pyrenees is a mountain range in Europe between Spain and France, and this is the mountain lakes we sampled. Then I found this man, Didier Galop. He's a geographer from France. So I had my first postdoc with him. And it was still about mountain lakes. In this case, we were interested in studying how lakes were, we were collecting sediment cores from different lakes. And we were interested in studying the effects of fish introductions and overgrazing in lake basins. Because we knew the date, the exact date where fish were introduced in some of these lakes, and also data from overgrazing, from historical overgrazing. In the meantime, between my PhD thesis, my first postdoc, I had some free time, let's call it like that. So I had the opportunity to analyze some data from streams in subarctic streams in northern Finland. So this was kind of like my first experience out of mountain lakes. So with this background, I arrived in Berkeley and incorporated to the Ruhi lab, where we play around with foam noodles. No, I'm just joking. So this lab is now expanding, so for you to know. I'm sure there will be opportunities to incorporate people in the lab. I am happy to have contributed to the development and launching of the lab. Now, the lab now this picture looks like a mess, but the lab is now really ready to perform interesting research. This is a picture of us also, members of the lab in field task. This is Guy Leathers, who was presenting a poster yesterday, and Albert Ruhi is the PI. This is me and a couple of French students, Gauthier and Amaya, visiting French students who were helping in field work. This is where we are located in Wellman Hall in UC Berkeley. So so these are my thoughts about how would I compare California versus Europe. Okay, this is going to be risky, I think. I came here, I was convinced I was going to conquer the far west with my cowboy hat and my horse. But when I came here, I found that there are none of this is needed. Instead, you have to fill up many forms asking for permission for everything. So many regulations in California, but I am used to it because in Europe we have even more than that. So it's not so different in this regard. So I think I would say California is a little bit European in this regard, maybe. Just a short comment. About the autonomy, I'll also make a brief comment. I'm very, very much surprised how things work here with the involvement of, well, first of all, the PhD students have great independence here. And they take control of for example, that they supervise the undergraduate students. And we have something similar in Europe, but it's more, I don't know how to pronounce this word in English, like hierarchy, between the hierarchy. So the PI usually takes control of everything, while here it delegates onto the PhD students, which is nice. And also this system of whereby undergraduates get credit in exchange of work in the lab. We have something similar in Europe, but it's not as well developed, in my opinion, as here. It's well established here, and it works very well. And it's a win-win situation for everybody. And it accelerates science a lot, lab work. So this is something I like. About facilities, I was impressed also here about the infrastructure that you have for research. I was, in particular, very much impressed about this University of California Natural Reserve System. You can see in this map, well, you will know, I think, the map for the reserve systems here. And we've been using one of these reserves for our purposes, particularly the Sierra Nevada Aquatic Research Laboratory, SNARL, where they have these amazing artificial channels. They're very expensive to build, but they are very useful to for example, as Kyle was presenting in his poster yesterday, we were using these channels to simulate or to anticipate climate change effects on stream ecosystems. So because we can control the flow, so we can maintain some channels at the natural conditions or current conditions, and others we can simulate a drought, for example, which is expected to occur in this area. These facilities include also very nice laboratories where you can spend night over, because it's usually the case that you need to be there like for weeks following your experiment, and have places to relax and cook, so you can be there pretty nicely. About funding opportunities, I don't see much difference with regard to the big sources of funding, for example, National Science Foundation or the European Research Grant, for example. But I feel like here there are more opportunities with regard to sources of funding for modest projects. I mean, no offense, but I just wanted to exclude these National Science Foundation big budgets. And for example, in our lab, we have taken advantages of different sources of funding for developing these modest projects, okay? For example, the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, the Delta Science Program, or the California Institute for Water Resources. For example, in a combined call by the California Department of Fish and Wildlife and the Delta Science Program, we had funding for a PhD student, Megan Pagliaro, in the San Francisco Bay Estuary Delta, where there are, I think I'm aware that there are a bunch of money now for projects considering restoration projects in the area. Okay, and in this case, this project was entitled "Reconnecting Delta Food Webs: Evaluating the Influence of Tidal Marsh Restoration on Energy Flow and Prey Availability for Native Fishes." And Megan is going to study different sites in the Bay Area and collect samples to study the functionality of the ecosystems, the integrity, through the approach of evaluating food webs, and to study the relative contribution, for example, of pelagic, of planktonic, or I don't know how to say it, and benthic on terrestrial pathways of energy and matter transfer for fish populations. Okay. So this is Megan and Albert ready to get on board in a boat to explore sites suitable for sampling. And another example is the California Institute for Water Resources. In this case, we got funding for a project which is collected by myself, and study area in this case is Pinnacles National Park. And we want to understand the effects of drought on riverine biodiversity. And particularly, I'm in charge, well, this is the Pinnacles National Park area. You know how it looks like. This is this rocky landscape of volcanic origin, and nice national park. It was used to be a national monument. Now the California condor is successfully reintroduced here. And the streams there are quite often intermittent. And so this is a picture of a ridge taken in February this year, but the same spot in June looks like that. So we want to know how organisms colonize the stream once the water is flowing again. So of course we know that there are several mechanisms. For example, organisms drifting with the flow, other organisms swimming upstream, or for example, organisms that are hidden in the hyporrheos, so they perform vertical up migration, they colonize the water, and of course aerial colonizations through females that lay eggs in the benthic substrates. But we want to quantify the relative contribution of all these pathways. So I'm building traps here, which are designed to capture only one of these pathways. Okay, and with the help of an undergraduate, of course, in this case, Ryan Knapp. So we are going to install these traps in pinnacles very quickly before the rains come, which will going to be very, very soon. Okay, the final thing I would like to talk about is the publicly available data, and I can see here a huge difference between what I have been observing in Europe. When I say Europe, I mostly talk about Spain and France. Okay, not the whole Europe, but I had the experience of well, I am analyzing data from the surface water ambient monitoring program that you all know about, and it is just amazing how a large amount of data is available and you can use. These data can also be obtained from the California Environmental Data Exchange Network. And for example, in my case, I'm using data from 2008 to 2017. Because I'm so slow, probably we have time to incorporate 2018 already. But we have like more than 2,000 sites we can analyze. And further, some of these sites are considered reference stations, so we can compare reference conditions versus non-reference, for example. And we are analyzing now alpha, beta, and gamma diversity within the 3 regions across years, and comparing reference and non-reference stations with Albert Ruhi and also with the help of Dave Herbst. And I just divided California in 3 regions because if we see this map here, this is about the coefficient of variation of total precipitation in the US. So this is not seasonality. This is how years are compared to each other. Okay, so in the eastern coast, we see like these pink colors, which represents stability or similarity, if you will, between years. Then as we proceed to the west, we can see more yellow, then green, blue, and black, which represent very different conditions between years. So we can see here that California contains the entire gradient of conditions in this regard. So it's a very interesting place to study the effects of drought. And analyzing the discharge net annual anomaly, after Fourier analysis to get rid of the seasonality, we can observe that in Southern California, positive values means wet conditions, and negative values is dry. So in Southern California, and also a little bit in Central California, the effects of drought and wet years are much stronger than in the northern region, okay? And not only these data are available, publicly available for anyone to use. I mean, sorry, but I'm very impressed because these data are just extended through time with the same protocol, very well performed at the genus level, which is amazing, and so many people involved. And then not only that, but you can not only use this for biomonitoring, you can also use this for your own scientific questions. And furthermore, if you have any doubt about how to use this data, you could write an email to any of these people, and they would actually respond to you, and they would solve your problems. Okay? So I can see a huge difference here in respect to Europe. My final thoughts is about dual career search. I don't know what to say about this. I don't have much experience with regard to comparing US versus Europe. I just got married 3 months ago, and she for the second time with the same person. It's a long story, anyways. But the point is that she's on research too, and now she's with me at Berkeley, trying to find something. She didn't succeed, but now she got a grant, 3-year grant in Poland. So she will move there, and I will go with her. So I am lately seeing sometimes advertisements for job where they have this sensitiveness or sensitivity, the recognition to account for this problem, because I know it's not only me. Many couples are on research, both of the members of the couple. So, and this is something the job advertisements are starting to take care of. In this case, we can read Cornell University seeks to meet the needs of dual career couples, has a dual career program, and is a member of the Upstate New York Higher Education Recruitment Consortium to assist with dual career searches. So I don't know what that means. Probably nothing, but at least we can see there's this recognition of this problem. And I just wanted to introduce the question, so maybe we can talk about in this discussion panel, and you maybe have some ideas for me. So thank you very much for your attention.
Yeah. Thank you, Guillermo. That was awesome. We'll take a couple questions. I'll switch it over.
Just a comment. Thank you very much for highlighting the SWAMP data and the SWAMP IQ staff for helping with the data and for appreciating it. I work a lot on our data, our website, and I really like it that some people are using it so much and finding it as a useful resource. Thank you very much.
Well, I thought I'd start thinking about, people's career futures or opportunities. So maybe what advice do you have for folks in being aware of different positions that are out there in the environmental field and maybe the settings that you're familiar with, and how they can use the skill sets they're learning in grad school and apply that to a variety of different jobs?
Sorry, I think I didn't get it.
Well, just thinking about what your advice is for either grad students that are still here or maybe other early career folks, advice for them on building their career to the next step. How do they use the skills they're learning in their current positions to be aware of other positions, jobs that are out there, and how to successfully apply for and get other positions?
Okay. Well, I would say first, be passionate about your work and don't waste too much time finishing your thesis as I did. And I like this emailing list. I think it's called Ecolog, where you can find many. I usually go there. There's really a huge amount of opportunities there for every stage, from undergrads, graduate students, PhD, postdocs, tenure track, whatever. So I would recommend to subscribe to this list. It was originally developed by University of Maryland. I don't know if this is the case already still, but it is. I mean, you have dozens of emails every day. You can actually filter out with some with your needs. But I would recommend to use this list. That would be my advice.
Thank you, Guillermo. Good job.